Hi, hope you're well today. Today I wanted to answer some questions or address some questions I get asked about a lot around the fact that I'm vegan. People find that um, such a curious thing. And I'm asked why I'm vegan, how I became vegan, what it is to be vegan, what do you eat as a vegan, and all of that. So I thought I would tell you a little bit about my own journey. I have been vegan for a very long time, but it evolved. So for those of you who've asked those questions, I grew up eating the standard American diet, which many in America do. It basically was a slab of meat, a little bit of a vegetable, and a starch like a potato. And my mother did everything that was right at that time. I had a vitamin every day. There were always fruits and vegetables in our home. But it was kind of more limited than it would be today. But and so I was healthy. I had some uh, allergies for a period, but that later went away. Um, One specific allergy I had was to chocolate as a baby, and my pediatrician at the time told my mother to give me just a little bit of chocolate every day. So who knows what that did over time? Who knows? But by the time I was 20, I found a book written by Jane Fonda, and it was about her workout and what she ate. And but what I found to be the most interesting about the book was she really talked about some things that went on in the meat industry in particular that were that was really eye-opening for me. She talked about, when you see meat in a store, it doesn't have that red coloring naturally. It would be gray by the time you got it. And she talked about other aspects in the industry um, that were not so appealing to me. So I said, that's it. I'm not eating meat anymore. I really had an awakening to that there. And I maintained that. I only once did I try a bite of red meat about 10 years later just to see how I felt about it. I guess I was just in a mood because I had changed so much. And I really did not like it at all. Um, and so, round about that time after 20, I think throughout my 20s, I experimented a little bit. Well, first, let me tell you that at age 23, I had an awakening with regard to dairy. Now, dairy, um, I was actually in a show. I was playing Lillian Carnival, and I got sick. I got pneumonia, and I didn't want to drop out of the show. My understudy took over for a while, and I went to visit this doctor from the Metropolitan Opera, who had a great reputation, and he gave me a list, among other things that I did um, at that time, of things that I couldn't do. And one of them was no dairy. So I, gave up dairy, went back to the show. It was fine, it was great. But the byproduct of that was truly amazing to me. I the way I talk about it to people is that the skies parted, the angels wept. It was just, I couldn't believe how good I felt. Up to that point, I felt, kind of more clogged in my body. My body didn't feel that. I mean, I felt fine, but when I gave up dairy, I really felt that my whole body just functioned better. So that went out, and I remember. Um, at some point, I had backpacked through Europe, and I was eating dairy at that time, here and there. So I don't know how committed I was. No, I'm sorry. That was actually before. That was that was after college. So no, I gave up dairy completely at 23. I've forgotten now, but um, and no, I really did. And then I knew when once I had that epiphany, I never went back. So for the next few years, I think that I also gave up land animals, um, and fish. I believe I would still eat eggs for a time, uh, and I think during my early 30s, I would maybe have an omelet every now and then. But then at some point, I made the connection between fish and because at the time I was calling myself pesco vegan. I don't know that there's an actual term, but I that's what I would call myself. It might be pescatarian, but that's not. That's I think that's different because I wasn't eating dairy and I wasn't eating eggs. After a time, I stopped eating eggs too. I didn't like them. And I just began to not feel good with animal products. Once I experienced plant-based, my taste changed. My body wanted different things. You kind of, if you eat intuitively, you learn what your body needs. If you ask it as you stand in front of the refrigerator or look in a cabinet, what do I need? And you may get an answer. I certainly did. So eventually, fish went. But I will say that like most vegans, or there are some vegans that either can have an experience and just go cold turkey, pardon the pun, um, or uh, it could be a gradual process like mine, but some vegans really do it for the animals. And that for me was a longer term understanding. That took a while for me because when I did it, it was for my own health. That's how it was presented to me by Jane Fonda in her book. It was her own health, and I didn't see it as the animal. It was more, people that eat meat tend to have higher levels of disease, and there are studies of that. And I certainly didn't want that. I wanted to live a long and healthy life. Uh, so I eventually, in some of my vegan friends, kind of schooled me on the leather that I was wearing because I hadn't put it all together. But when I got it about the animals, I really got it about the animals. It's so interesting how we view cats and dogs one way, but we don't look at cows and pigs in the same way. I mean, animals feel pain as much as we do, and our factory farming practices are just so cruel and barbaric. Personally, I feel that we will look back at this time like when they used to draw and quarter people in what is it, the 1500s or something, that it's just barbaric. And even the fact that we're eating animals, I don't think it's some people would say that that's natural, but as a plant eater, there's some arguments that the way our teeth are, we were never supposed to eat meat. I don't know. I'm not going to weigh in on that, but I can say from my own experience that everything changes when you try a vegan diet. I think Oprah Winfrey had a show years ago where she tried it, and many of the people reported this. What many people report is a calmer energy, feeling just lighter in their body, being more peaceful, and that I can attest to. That's been my experience. So I highly recommend it. And there's what you eat on a vegan diet really spans the spectrum. There's beautiful food. When I was vegan, it was really hard to get things. And even when I travel now, I have to find places, I have to actually scope it out. I have to know, am I going to be able to get food there? Because if I go down south, it's more challenging. I just went to Virginia this year, and one town was very vegan friendly, and another one, a half hour away, was kind of, you know, it was the 1950s. It was very strange. Um, but so I would say if you have an interest in really having more energy, feeling better, if you feel very, the time we're living in is very oppressive, and it helps you lighten up. It really helps you lighten up, I have to say. And even if you added more plant-based foods to your diet, you may experience that. Again, just speaking from my own experience. And it was really interesting because I've been on both sides of the um, this food issue. Um, so what else can I tell you? What do I eat? Everything that doesn't come from an animal. I try to eat. I like to eat about 70% raw, because of it's very vitalizing. I like to eat a lot of ground rooted vegetables and things like that. Um, I'm gluten free because I think our grains, what we do here in this country, we mess with them. There's a lot of GMO grain that causes a lot of celiac disease and a lot of gut problems. I hear that that's not so prevalent in Europe, but um, so I do that. But you could get organic spelt or wheat, or if you don't have a problem with it. Tubers, sweet potatoes, coconut, avocados, the fruit of the earth. And I also am not a fan of some of the meat substitutes, although some vegans like them, like the Beyond Burger and the Impossible Burger, because I think some of them replicate the taste of heme, the blood taste, which I don't need. Um, I also am not a fan of Just Egg, which has a lot of gels and gums in it. That's an egg substitute. I think I've been off of these products for so long, I don't need them imitated. I much prefer, a tempeh burger or a black bean burger or something like that. And so beans and lentils are, there's ample protein, nuts and seeds, in a vegan diet. It's beautiful. It's the fruit of the earth. And parallel that with, well, I just find it much more appealing than animal products, personally. So in January is Veganuary. I will also say, before I get to that I'm also not a fan of some of the lab-grown meat and the eating of bugs and crickets and things like that, insects that's kind of in the media now. I think this, it's a little bit, I'm not a fan of those things either. I think stick with nature, nothing modified as much as possible, and nature has an intelligence we're just never gonna match. We're just not in that way. So is that all I wanted to say? I'm not sure. Oh, of course, it is better for the planet too. It's a much better than eating crickets. It just letting the animals be, letting them live out their lives with dignity, without our interference, I think is a good thing. And really, just even if you took that out of the equation, you'd feel better. It's just something right about it, in my opinion. And it also is you have less of an environmental impact, so it's better for the climate. It's better for all around. Okay, enough of that. So in January, which we're rounding up on, is what is also termed Veganuary, which is a time when people try a vegan diet. And so I highly recommend it. There's so many wonderful vegan recipes you can try. I've never ever made a vegan dish that a carnivore didn't like because they're really tasty. And so that's my take. For those of you who've asked, that's my take. And that's just my experience. But that's how, I was kind of led to it. It seemed like by the experiences I had. And now, I'm very into animal rights. I'm very into, I see things a little bit differently. I really do. Because I didn't see the animals in quite the same way. I rode an elephant when I was 10 years old. I didn't think about what that did to the elephant. So, anyway, enough said. Thanks for listening. And if you have any other questions about it, please get in touch and have a great day. Thanks. Bye.